Thank you. So I just shared the poll results. Eric, do you want to start us off? Take
All
us through?
right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks again for joining us today. And welcome to those of you who may be joining us for the first time. We've been doing these live polls at the beginning of each of these webinars just to get a sense for what may have changed and how things may have progressed over the previous weeks. So it's nice to see the variety of folks joining us on the call, clergy, vestry. So thank you. Question that we like to ask at the beginning of each call is, how are you doing on developing your impact statement? So it's great to see this progress. Last week we were around a quarter saying that they had completed an impact statement. So please, now we're at 33%. So let's see if we can get that number up this week. And the other question that we've been asking is, have you been asking you've been asking people for support on your phone calls? And as we know, just about all of you had been making phone calls and had phone trees going right from the get-go. But this is an added twist. Are we talking about the impact, and are we asking our members for support in those calls? And this is wonderful to see that 57% of you are saying that that is happening. Last night on our call, a quarter had shared that they were doing that. So this is great that we have so many of you who are transitioning, and that's what we'd like to talk about today, is transitioning to that ask. And then this last question is a new one, but it helps us because the point of today's call is to engage each of you individually. We have a breakout room scheduled. And we'd like to know how comfortable you are, and that's obviously not a natural thing for us to talk about giving, but it's encouraging here to see that 40% of you are saying that you're comfortable with this next step, and 13% of you are saying you're very comfortable. So that's awesome. So over half of you are ready to take that next step, make that transition. So just to go over a little bit of our plan today. So we what you see here today, our CCS team has grown, and what we hope to do today, there's close to 50 of you participating, and we'd love to break these down into smaller groups and just hear from you. How are you doing on developing your own impact statement, and how are you sharing that, or what would you say to share that? How comfortable are you with transitioning to the ask? So we'll get into that. But this team here, you'll see we're joined today by Carmen Donahue, Stephen Picciano, and Francis Robinson, who will be facilitating our breakout rooms along with Evelyn and me. So welcome to our additional team members today. Thank you. Just to give you a sense of where we were last week on our polls between the two meetings, you see that we were about 30%. I'd say if we can join those two together, that between last night and tonight, that we probably have made progress on the development of the impact statement. And that 25% on the right of addressing the giving during the phone calls has definitely gone up, as is reflected on today's call. So this is good progress. For those of you who are new, this is just a refresher about the goals for the Pledge and Plate Recovery and Growth Plan. Please know that the full plan and the appendix are available to you on the diocesan website under the COVID-19 page, specifically under the finance section of that. And you'll see all of the previous webinars as well as the full plan and the appendix. But the goals here are, start with making meaningful personal outreach and encouraging engagement. Number 2 is articulating the needs of your parish at this time. And number 3 is providing regular updates on your progress compared to what those needs are. And then number 4 is ensuring that we have all the latest giving mechanisms available, and so that somebody who says, "How can I help?" Can be easily and readily directed to that whether it's Vanco or whatever other online giving platform you have established or we'd like to help you establish. Our activities are fourfold. So the first activity that we want to encourage each of you to do is to quantify that impact, to develop that impact statement, to say this is how we have been impacted as a congregation, whether it's the loss of revenue from rental income or from a fair that you were planning for this summer, or or the actual loss of pledge and plate collection. A lot of you have stated time and time again that the pledges are doing all right. The plate obviously has disappeared. It's the other things that are the big X factor. And so how do we quantify that in addition to the increased demand on our services, the increased demand on our food pantry, and all those other things? Organizing your contacts. This is the next step of the engagement process, which is developing your list, breaking it down into tiers, knowing who to start with, and then growing that list over the next few weeks to reach out to everybody. And number 3 is to initiate this particular kind of engagement, which is the one that mentions specifically what the impact is, and hopefully leads the potential giver down the path of supporting, making an additional gift, catching up on their pledge, whatever that may be. And then finally celebrating success and coming together in this setting and sharing our results, but also sharing results and motivating your own volunteers as they are seeking to do their calls. Last week we went over the basics of making a phone call. So once again, please go back to the materials from the last call if you and check out those slides for a much more detailed script. But what basically it's a 4-part conversation: introducing the reasons for your call, ask them how they're doing, engaging in a warm conversation about their current situation, transitioning to the need and explaining what the impact it has been, and the need for ongoing support, and then if appropriate, making the request and asking them, encouraging them to participate with either a special gift or a pledge, or making up their pledge, and to participate in the virtual communities that we hope you're all really making available to all members. So what we'd like to do today is Evelyn and I are going to go through a quick example of how one of these calls might go, and then transition to breakout rooms where we will ask you to, how are you doing on your own messaging, so to speak, and see how we can help you on a much more individual basis. So as always, continue to please use the chat rooms, the chat feature to ask questions, but we hope that within these breakout sessions we'll be able to help each other, and if we can, CCS be of assistance, or if the fellow participants in the call can offer their own examples, that would be great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Evelyn up right now, and just kind of go through a basic conversation, how it might go. What you see here on the screen is the flow of the way the potential giver might lead the conversation, but really we want this to be a natural flowing. And one of the questions that Charlie posed last night to me was, do you prefer calling somebody you know or somebody you don't know? I said I'd prefer calling somebody I know, because that helps with the opening of the conversation. And Charlie said that he prefers calling somebody he doesn't know. And I think for each of you it'll be different, but definitely play it by ear as you're calling each of these members on of your congregation. So, hi Evelyn, this is Eric calling from All Saints, and I just wanted to call and check in. There's a team of us getting together to make a round of calls today, and just want to see how are you doing. Wanted to give you an update on how everything is taking place here at All Saints, and how we're making do. So how are you?
Hi, Eric. I'm doing well. I'm so. Can you tell me why you're calling?
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So I'm on the vestry, and a group of us have been getting together over the past few weeks to reach out to members of the congregation just to check in and see, make sure everything is okay, and also just to let everybody know about what's going on in the parish and all the virtual tools that we have available to make sure people can come together. And we wanted to give you an update on exactly what has been taking place these past 8 weeks, and invite you to participate in some of our online communities if you're not already doing so, and share how this shutdown has been impacting All Saints.
Is this about fundraising?
Well, this is not exactly a fundraising call. I wouldn't turn you down if you wanted to help. This is primarily an update call, and want to share how things are going, and ask you if you're taking advantage of the various tools that we have. So, one of the things that we really want to highlight is that the parish has been going steady. We've been blessed to have received the PPP loan, so that's good news, and payments on pledges have continued to flow in. But as you can probably guess, the plate collection is not happening at this point, and our revenue from our rental income is just has fallen through the floor at this point. But we're managing, and thankfully the PPP loan is keeping us afloat for these next few weeks. But our demand on our services has really increased, and so too, amazingly, has the demand for our virtual services. So the staff has really been keeping busy with worship services and Bible studies and Sunday school. It's really been amazing to see how many people are involved. But we are concerned as we head over into the summer months, what that's going to look like without the revenue, and also just the fact that so many more people are calling, asking for support from All Saints. They're also looking for more support from the food pantry. So it's it's difficult, but we are managing. And have you been taking part in the worship services and the Bible studies?
Yeah, so I have definitely been enjoying the live stream worship services, and I'm so glad that the parish has pivoted that way. I didn't realize that COVID was having such a dramatic impact on your parish and the increased needs. So what is it you're asking for at this time?
Well, we absolutely hope that you'll continue to participate and take and join some of these other communities. We're trying to make our virtual tools available to everybody, and it's as I mentioned, it's amazing to see how many people are participating. We'd love to see that number just continue to grow. What a great opportunity this is to share the good news in this time of what is mostly bad news. So thank you for that. But we also, want to encourage those, members who have perhaps already prepaid on their pledges to keep going and consider supporting additionally. And if there are some who are able to consider making special gifts to do that. But also we need volunteers. We need people who can help, with this outreach that we're doing to fellow members and people who want to lead some of these virtual communities.
So if I wanted to increase my pledge, how might I be able to do that?
Well, we have an online platform, so I hope you'll check that out. I'll send you the link right after this. But you can go on our website and click on the Give Now page, and we have a Vanco pledge program, which is super easy. And you could say that if you wanted to increase over the next few months, or just increase for the rest of the year, that would be really terrific. As I mentioned, we're not sure what the financial situation is, so that would be that'd be terrific. But I can send you the link, or you can check out the website right now.
Sure. I mean, I can't promise anything at this time. I definitely have to discuss it with my partner, but it would be great if you could send me information. I'm really not sure that I can do anything more than what I'm doing.
No problem. And as I mentioned, we're really using we'd like to do with these phone calls to just make sure everybody's aware. And I know everybody's been so great in supporting. Many people have been coming forward asking how they can help. And thank you for thinking the same way. And if you're able to do so, we really appreciate it. But I will absolutely send you that link.
Great. Thanks. Anything else you need from me at this
Uh,
time?
no, no. Thanks so much. I'll send you that, as well as I'll send you some other stuff of all the other virtual meetings that are taking place. So hope you'll be able to join that, either a coffee hour or a Bible study or one of those things. So thank you
Great,
so
thank you.
much.
I
Stay
look forward to
well.
receiving it.
You're welcome. All right. So that's just an example of how it might flow. Obviously, the more you know the person, the better the conversation will go. And as we're not trying to go out there and make this a really upfront request. We're trying to let the donor guide that part of the conversation if they're ready for this. And we talked about this last week, if somebody is in a tough financial situation, that your conversation is going to go in a different direction. But as long as we can start explaining what the needs are and what the impact is, we hope that we'll see some good success. So what we'd like to do now is go into these breakout sessions and focus on these three questions that we've posed on this slide. How would you explain the needs of your congregation? How would you transition from that warm check-in to making that request? And then if any of you have had any success, we'd love to hear from you. And please share that with the members of your group. And then we'll come back together, and we have a few examples to share, or an example to share from a congregation at the end, and we'll open it up for any other questions. So, Evelyn?
So I'm going to send out the breakout invites. So you'll see in about 10 seconds a little pop-up will ask you to move into a breakout room, and just accept it. And just give me 1 second, as I'm just going to make sure that the rooms are evenly dispersed, because we had a couple of people drop off the call. So I just want to reorganize a little.
And we'll probably take 20-25 minutes for this part, so we can have 10 or 15 minutes at the end. And when you get in there, just share your microphone and your video, and we'll keep the conversation. All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, and I hope that your breakout sessions were productive and lots of participation. So thanks so much. So what we wanted to do before we open it up for any broader conversations, is just highlight an example. So Tina Aiken's going to give us a little overview of what's happening in Cranberry, and so Tina.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I would say that St. David's in Cranberry is in a pretty good place right now. But as we were, many were saying in our breakout session, the unknowns of the future are what are difficult, and the cash flow in 6 months from now is hard to predict. So I thought I'd just say a few things that we have been doing since the start of all of this back in March, right after the church building closed. The rector, wardens, and vestry sent out a letter to the parish saying, in this time of uncertainty, there are still certainties for all of us in our households and in our church family as well. Need to pay the staff, pay the mortgage, hope to continue to meet our outreach contributions that are even more critical right now, and just ask people to continue to pay their pledges, prepay if they can. Recognize that some may need to step back and not pay their pledge, and also to those who aren't pledging but are giving, that all the continued support is important, and to let people know that they can do it online via PayPal. We happen to have PayPal up and running. It's something people were familiar with. Because they were familiar, we were looking at Vanco for sure, but it was there, it was working, we could customize it enough that it worked well for us, and that has been gone just fine. Pledges are steady. Giving non-pledging regular givers, that's down, and I think that's an area where we can do some more work. We weren't phoning. I mean, we were phoning and emailing and being in touch on Facebook to stay in touch. We weren't and aren't right now using phoning as a way of increasing giving. I'll come back to that at the end. One of the things that just came to us unprompted was a challenge gift. So a parish family offered a $10,000 challenge gift, and it was 1-to-1 match up to $10,000. We decided they offered it right before Easter. We announced it right after Easter. It would run for a month, 4 weeks, to meet the challenge, to have a little urgency in doing that. And it has been tremendously successful. We actually met the challenge in 2 weeks and continued. So the 10,000 in the challenge plus the 10,000 in contributions would have been 20,000. We'll actually close the challenge on Friday with 30,000. So it has been huge for us, and not every it's just something that happened. But you might think there's somebody in your parish who might do a $5,000 challenge or a $2,500 challenge or something of that sort. Can really prompt giving right now. It was very helpful because we have a pretty large percent of relatively large percent of our income is from rentals. We're at about 11%, and I think maybe the average is around maybe 6% or so. And of course, we've lost the rentals, and like all of us, we've lost our fundraisers. And so that was an $18,000 gap that we were looking at right now from that lost in revenue. And also that was part of the challenge message. Help us make up that gap from the rentals and what would have been the spring fundraiser. At the same time, we're support both with gifts and volunteers, the Rise Food Pantry in Hightstown. And like every other food pantry, they have seen their the demand go up probably about 300%. And so we wanted to also ask for a focus right now on Rise in terms of cash gifts. That has also gone well, and in the month of April, or at the end of the month of April, we were able to send $1,000 to Rise to help with that. So we have been staying in touch. I think like almost every parish, we have great virtual attendance on Sundays, and then of course are letting everybody know about all the other services that are going on: evening prayer, healing service, book discussion. And we also just recently, Allie Graham and I put together a little video called St. David's at Home and in Community. And I'll post a link on chat in just a second. And it's our first. It's for parish families. We like to do one of those every maybe 10 days or so that we just to help us all keep in touch a little bit better. The challenge for us going forward is also we'll be wanting to hire a new rector sometime over these next, I hope, 6 months or so. And I think at that time, as we come up on hiring a new rector, we'll probably need to push again for additional support. And so circling back now to the, to the idea of phoning and asking for support. I think we'll save that, if you will, for that time, because we can see that's going to come again in about 6 months from now.
Thank you, Tina. So we have about 5 minutes left, so maybe we can open it up quickly to if anyone has any questions for Tina or for the whole group, or just something they learned from their breakout session that they want to share. A few minutes to do that. Thank you so much, Tina.
Sure.
And you can use the chat. You can unmute yourself, raise your hand, whatever you're comfortable with.
Evelyn, I have a question for Tina. Tina, what are your plans for a fall stewardship campaign at St. David's this year?
Yeah, good question. I am stewardship chair, so
right. I knew that.
Yes. Father Dave and I have worked together on stewardship a couple years ago. I actually am not quite that far in my thinking yet. There is going to be a stewardship campaign, and you will have seen my maybe on the presentation I gave a little background bullet there. Our pledges for 2020 were actually down some. They had been going up very steadily over the last, I'd say, 4 years, and that was just circumstance. We had, as can happen, a couple of key pledging households move away out of the area, and we lost a couple of parishioners, a couple of very substantial pledgers passed away this past year. So that was a little bit of challenging then, and we had to adjust the budget for 2020 accordingly. I think the stewardship campaign a message of it will certainly be that we are hiring a new rector. So whether that person is in place at that time, don't know, but I think we'll definitely be developing a message around that. You have to figure out what your focus is going to be for the stewardship message at that time, and it's a little bit hard to predict right now.
I did see a question in the chat from John Brewer. He said, congrats on the success of the challenge. Was the identity of the challenger or sponsor disclosed?
No, the family who gave to us, to the challenge wanted to remain anonymous, and they're continuing to do so.
It certainly is a great way to have the conversation. We had mentioned on our breakout calls that somebody had said just mentioning that people are stepping forward to help is a great way to transition from stating the need to making the ask. What better way to say people are stepping forward to offer how they can help, and we have a challenge gift. So if you can get one of those, that'd be terrific. So we're running up at the end of our time, so thank you so much for everybody for participating in this third week of these seminars. The participation has been terrific. So please, if you haven't developed your impact statement, finish that up this week if you can. We should be also thinking about who those first tier of calls will be, and perhaps be moving on to your second tier, but if you've already started. So this week, just try to focus on that, finishing up the segmenting of your list. Remember that we can help, and please email Tina Chen or Evelyn Chen if you'd like some help on that. And then begin reaching out to your closest supporters, recruiting volunteers to join on those call teams, assigning those families. So thanks so much to everybody. And I know today we have Father Andrew from St. Andrews in Mount Holly, who's going to lead us in the closing prayer. So thank you, everybody. And Father Andrew.
Let us pray. Loving, gracious God, we do give you thanks for this opportunity for us to be together today and learn about the immediate needs of our specific parishes. We ask you, you know that you know our needs before we ask. Just please send your Holy Spirit upon us and guard us and guide us and keep us as we become good stewards, as we continue to be good stewards of all of the things that you have for us to care for, which is people, our parishes, our communities. Just continue to guide us as we move forward through these uncharted waters, and bless everyone as we leave this place today. All these things we pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.